Hey, good morning. How you doing, Benson? Nice to see you. Got Benson in the house here this morning. Yes, it's Monday. Oh, Monday. Never thought I'd be so excited to be here on a Monday with you folks, but it's good to be back on the stream. It's Monday, March 25th. Spring is in the air. And you know what the worst thing about spring cleaning is? The darn things, they bounce all over the place. I hate spring cleaning for that reason and many other reasons. But if it's time to clean out your bulk section, your bulk in your collection, if it's time to clean up your attitude or maybe just clean up at the game store when you're playing that new deck, maybe you're playing the new breakout deck here in Magic the Gathering, some legacy or what have you. It's nice to have you with us here this morning. It's going to be a good show. I got to ask yourself the question. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? It's not that hard. You can join me here on the morning show each and every day when we go over the prices on our Magic the Gathering finance journey together. At last, we can take a look and see what cards are moving and what cards are shaking and what's making up the metagame these days. There's been some interesting changes. I've been off for a week, maybe 2 weeks. I had a little bit of technical difficulties. Man, airports, isn't that a thing? Every time I go to the airport, there's always somebody who wants to take a look at your deck box and wonder what's in here. Isn't that a fact? If you're traveling through airports, don't forget to unpack and repack every single thing that you have in your carry-on. Brody got a little confused at the checkout on my last trip down to Trios. It was a lot of fun. I went out with the boys for a little bit of Magic the Gathering fun. We got to play in a Trios tournament. Brody took the pioneer seat running the new breakout deck. And I'll tell you why it was so exciting, because the deck was really unexpected, especially in the metagame. Was a lot of people scratching their heads saying, what on earth are you trying to play here, Brody? A couple of quite very, very close games in the pioneer seat. But the interesting to me is that with the talk of the breakout card and the usefulness of it over collected company, it's a card that we're starting to see more folks build with. More and more, there are legacy decks popping up online, and I'll tell you, these things are insane. It should be quite interesting to see how the meta shifts. We've got some Magic the Gathering news as my gift for you here this morning. If you join me on an adventure where we can talk about the prices of Magic cards early in the morning, you can kickstart your day and get running with me. Nice to have you with us. Well, let's take a look at, let's have a little sip of coffee here before we get going. What does it mean to never give up? There's one fella you'll have to ask. All right, let's get warmed up here this morning, like we like to do. We're going to take a look at some AI-generated Magic cards from me to you. Here this morning, we'll head on over to Robo Rosewater and take a look at some of these AI-generated Magic cards. Now, if you've been here before, you know the rules. If the card is playable any way whatsoever, we'll pass it. We'll give it a thumbs up. You'll hear this sound. But if the card is non-functional, if it doesn't function at your junction, if it's got gibberish on it, maybe it's missing one of the key elements of a Magic the Gathering card, we're going to fail it. You hear this sound? And to new effect here this morning. Let's take a look. Head on over to the stock desk. Robo Rosewater coming in here this morning. What's the difference between spring break and summer break? Well, jumping on the bed won't make summer break. And why does February feel like March? Well, because April, May. All right, what do we got here for us this morning for our viewing pleasure this morning, Brody? What do we got? What's kicking here this morning on the stream? Present Lieutenant. All right, a card drawing spell. White. 2 mana for a 1/1. This will get you this will cost you 2 mana to get it into your collection. You're playing this card. The Human Soldier is a 1/1. It says draw a card for 3 and tap. Then you may put a goblin card from your hand onto the battlefield. Seems fine. 1/1 for 2 white. And then for 2, until end of turn, present lieutenant gains whenever you cast a green permanent spell, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. That seems fine. That seems fine. Let's rock this card. This card's okay. How are we going to rate it? Rating fair, overpowered. I think we'll give it just a fair. Seems fair. Mirror, mirror on the wall. 70% of folks watching at home figure this card's just fair as the fairest can be. All right, what do we got it next here? Next up, we got the Mokerlade Elemental. Ooh, it's a Gruul Elemental. This one's a Planeswalker. It's a creature with level up. Okay, dusting my eyes, deceiving me here this morning. Mokerlade Elemental cost you a green, a red, and 2 for this 1/1 with level up for a green and star. I'm a little bit confused here. I didn't play during the level up mechanic, but this one doesn't seem to have much of an upside. Level up is star, and then it's 2 to 4. Says if a land you control is on the battlefield, you win the game. Oh, all right. This seems a little bit overpowered, if you ask me. I don't think we can pass this simply for the level up mechanic. I mean, the 2 to 4 saying that if the land you control is on the battlefield, you win the game. That seems a little bit overpowerful. And to our criteria, I think, well, let's bail this one. Get it out of here. Moker, fair, overpowered. Yes, this one's way overpowered. You got to land on the battlefield, you win the game. And this one here, Temple and Dawn, seems okay. For white, you get an instant speed. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library. Wow, this thing's powerful. Get rid of everybody's hand. This seems fine for 1 white mana. Game breaking. Really, you can. Get rid of everybody's hand. This is like a wheel, but without the other half of the wheel. It's got the discard half of the wheel and then like the non-draw part of the wheel. If you're playing discard, this seems like a fairly good card. It's strange to see a card like this in white. More opt to see a card like this in black, but nevertheless, this one's overpowered for sure. We'll give it a pass simply because nobody cares about this card, and I think we're going to have to call it overpowered. Yes, get rid of your hand. 82% of folks agree. And what's this one here? Maraud, the Invulsion. This card will give you the Invulsions here this morning. But it's 2/3 for 6 mana? Huh. What are we doing with our life when we're playing 6 mana for a 2/3? Huh. All right, you got 2 red and 4 for this sucker here. Legendary Human Rogu. Reach and Death Touch. That's what I like to see on a red creature. Of course, Brody's weak to flyers every time I sit down and play limited. Ward, discard your hand. Holy smokes. Now that's pretty powerful. I guess for 6 mana, you get the ward cost of discarding your hand. It looks like a Rowan on there. And then Maraud enters the battlefield with 2+1, 1+1 counters on it. And Maraud's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. But it's a 2/3. So how does that work? AI cards lately are busted. I see that. 6 mana, 2/3 with power and toughness equal to the number of the cards in your graveyard. I guess if you have 0, it's a minimum 2/3. Does that actually correct itself? Does that work that way? Perhaps. Let's give it a pass. Why not? Seems fine. Seems just fine. Getting up early here this morning. I'm glad you joined me, folks. All right, what do we got? Maraud Angel Invasion. Fair, overpowered. Let's give it a fair, simply because it's 6 mana. Fair, mirror, mirror on the wall. 48% of us all say this card is just fair as a lady's hair. Archer's Lust Vampire. Ugh. All right. I don't like vampires. I usually have to turn the movie off if there's any vampires that show up. I just can't stand them. What did the florists say during the springtime? Business is blooming. And why is springtime the best time to get into good habits because it's the perfect time to turn over a new leaf. And why didn't the bucket bounce? Because it was full of spring water. We're doing puns here this morning. Springtime puns. I mean, my winter fat is gone. Now I have spring rolls. So it's time to trim up and get a little bit more toned this year. All right. What do you think of this Archer's Lust Vampire? This one here cost you 6 mana. Holy smoke. 6 mana? 6 mana Mana Cadavra. 6 mana in your hand. This costs you green and 5. Legendary Dinosaur. 6/6. Stats are pretty good. Trample. 6/6 Trampler Archers. Power and toughness are each equal to the number of non-basic lands your opponents control. Count them up. What's with these AI cards that just have like a regular power and toughness? Shouldn't it have a star on the bottom of it? Or they basically say it has base power and toughness plus the number of non-basic lands your opponents control. Nevertheless, when archers enter the battlefield, scry 2. Scrying and crying. Non-basic lands. I got a bit of a problem with this one. Just because it's a 6/6 and it's got this alternate text on it that says its power and toughness is equal to the number of long non-basic lands your opponents control. Let's just assume that's over and above. Maybe it gets +1/+1. Okay, let's fail it. We don't like it. Get it out of here. Let's rate this sucker fair, under power, OP. Let's go non-functional. Okay, some people say it's fair. I was just erring on the side of caution here this morning. I'm going to have a little bit of sip of coffee here this morning. Thanks for joining me, Benson. When we take a look at the how do we say this? Hobbition. Some hobbition. That's kind of like a hobbit's ambition. Some hobbition. This one's an artifact equipment. And how excited was the gardener about springtime? He was so excited that he wet his plants. All right, we're wetting our plants here this morning with these AI generated magic cards. This Hobbibation card is a 2 mana equipment that says equip cost is 1 and equipped creature has base power and toughness 1/2. So this is like a downgrade when you put this on something. I don't know why you want to put this on your own creature. Maybe you got a little wimpy little creature like Rog Rack. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, you may mill a card. All right. It seems to check out. 2 mana for the 1 equip artifact. The equipped creature gets base toughness, power and toughness 1/2. Cards leave your graveyard, you mill a card. So it basically recycles anything in the graveyard. What are we going to rate this one? Let's say fair. Let's give this a fair as we dare. And the Sapphire Spy. Sapphire Spy? Oh boy, here we go. It's getting big. 7 mana 6/4s here this morning. Okay, we got a hasty giant warrior. That's what we like to see for 7 mana, right? We got to get something big. 6/4 can attack the turn it comes into play. All creatures attack each combat if able and can't attack or block. Oh gosh. All right, can't attack or block. Get out of here. We want to be able to attack or block. We really do. This one, what's the point of having haste if you can't attack? Let's go non-functional. Doesn't work. That's right. 46% of people agree. And this one here, the Fearless Cachet. Oh man, there's some of the names on these cards are almost getting worse than the real Magic cards themselves. Fearless Cachetic Bolt. Get a green bolt or 1 green and 3. The Sorcery Elf. Nice. Can't be countered. You can't lose the game and your life total becomes 1. Is it like an Angel's Grace in green? It's a sorcery, though. I think you just need to resolve this. It doesn't say until end of turn, so it's like forever, right? You can't lose the game. Your life total becomes 1. Seems overpowered. Any number of combos that work with this one, it's going to save your bacon. Let's give it a pass. Seems overpowered. Way overpowered. Can't even be countered. OP? Yeah. 76.4% of folks watching at home would agree. And the Zenith champion, championing stream here this morning. Warming up this morning with a little bit of AI fun. These are hilarious. Got a 2 green and 4 for a 4/4 flying Zenith Human Knight Champion. When Zenith Champion enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards with different names. Put them onto the battlefield and shuffle. Any number of cards with different names. Just like whatever you want that has a different name. So in a commander deck, this thing just goes and gets everything and puts it onto the battlefield. I think this just says win the game on it. It's a little bit overpowered, if you ask me. All right, let's pass it. Fine. Let's keep moving here. Overpowered? Yes. Way overpowered. Not hard to see why that one's busted. The Towering Sage. Finally, we got yourself a Planeswalker here this morning. What do we got? Towering Sage is a 7 loyalty Planeswalker. Costs you a blue, a red, a green, and 2. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Towering Sage deals damage equal to its power to target player or Planeswalker, and each creature that player or Planeswalker controls. Well, it's a Planeswalker, so it doesn't have power and toughness. You -2 to grade 3, 1/1 red human tokens. And then -7 is the ulti. You get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I don't think this works just because it doesn't have power and toughness. Let's get it out of here. All right, non-functional. Doesn't have power and toughness. How do people not see that? Doesn't have power and toughness. Can't deal damage. +1 doesn't work. It's overpowered on the -3. All right, Devilus. This reminds me of a vacuum cleaner brand that was big in the 90s. Devilus. This is a Boros card. Boros Sorcery. Borosery. Costs you 4 colored pips, either red or white, and 1. Return each untapped land you controlled owner's hand. Now that seems fine, right? Why not? Return that. Return those lands to your hand. I don't see why you want to do it. Maybe you're going to tap out all your mana and wipe the board, maybe cast an Armageddon, balance your lands and replay them, get some landfall triggers, perhaps. That might be one way to do it. I think it's fair. Fair to say this one's fairly. Oh, a lot of people say it's underpowered. Really? We want more for 5 mana. It definitely is not doing a whole lot. And then the Schlifticus. Really? I got to have a little sip of coffee. Schliftusk Weaver. All right, we're tusking along the stream here this morning. Human Soldier Wizard, the 3/3 for flying. It's got this blue activation on it. It seems kind of funny. Sack an artifact, counter target spell. Ooh, I like this. A Boros card with blue on it. Is it legendary? Could it be our commander? No, it can't. But it's flying and it's a 3/3 and it's got this 1 blue activation on it. For a white, a red, and 1, you get yourself a 3/3. Why not? Seems fine. And then this one here, how we're going to rate it. Fair, underpowered, OP. Let's give it a fair. I think this is fair. 52.3% of folks watching agree that this card is fair as fair can be. Overbiter Loyal Giant Strike. This is the counterpart to the Underbiter Loyal Giant Strike, the Mill Master. What did Bro A say to Bro B? I'd sure like to see Bro D. No, I like it. That's good. That's the best pun I've heard all day. What did Bro A say to Bro B? I'd sure like to see Bro D. Nice to have you with us. Uh-oh. What are you checking out here this morning, Mill Master? Nice to have you on the stream. We're doing puns this morning, spring puns. What's the difference between spring break and summer break? Jumping on the bed won't make a summer break. Nice to have you back, too. All right. Nice to be back. We're doing some AI-generated magic cards this morning. And what do you call an emergency in the spring? That's Mayday. Mayday. Right? Call out Mayday and emergency in the spring. Hey, nice to see you, Brains, here this morning. We're checking out some AI-generated magic cards. Let's take a look at this Overbiter Loyal Giant Strike together. See what we can see. And what did the florist say in the springtime? Business is blooming. Here on the stream, we're blooming with this one. Overbiter Loyal Giant Strike deals 16 damage to target player who Gravening. For 5 mana and then draw a card. Each creature you control deals damage to an opponent. Target creature you control deals a card unless that player pays 12 life instead. Get it out of here. This one's no bueno. Nice to see you, bro. What's happening, Mr. Hillbilly? Nice to have you on the stream here this morning. We're checking out some AI-generated magic cards. It's good to be back. Good to be back with you folks here after a little bit of well-deserved time off. I enjoyed myself when traveling. Forgot my laptop at the airport. This one's non-functional. Let's not function this one. Let's do one or two more here for Live Pare Locking Garetti. Live Pare Lock Gigaretti. Shout out to Gary. This is a Garetti card. A 3/3 for a white, a red, and a blue, and one. You get tap, add green for each creature you control. That seems okay. It's got a Gaia's Cradle on it for 4 mana. All right, legendary creature, good. I would like to draw your opponent. I would like to draw your attention to this particular part of the matter. Is it good or is it Gucci? This card's Gucci. It's Gucci. Gucci morning, everybody. Nice to have you with us. All right. Whenever Live Pate locking get it lock gigarity attacks or block, you lose 4 life. You don't want to attack with this sucker. You do want to tap it for mana because that will ramp you. Some interesting art on this card too. I actually kind of like it. Nice, nice. All right, one more. You guys want one more? We go fair, OP, underpowered, non-functional. I'm gonna say it's fair, straight up fair. You get a Guy's Cradle on a creature, and then you get to. You don't want to attack with it. We just want to make all the manas in the world, all the manas and all the bananas in the world. Bro, Druids on fire. This one's a 4/4 giant illusional. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain life equal to its mana value. Oh. No. I gotta buzz this one out of existence. It's a goblin mirror. Find a goblin mirror? Giant mirror. It's the biggest mirror you ever did see. Have no fear, the biggest mirror is here. Illusional. Lands don't have a mana cost, so that don't work. Oh, and I'm glad we went a little bit deeper into the stream here this morning. But the Phyrexian Brain Stomper. What a great card. Meow. All right. Meow, meow, meow. Check this out. This is how you would know AI won't take over the world, right? This is just testing us to see. What do we got here? And this cat. Is it a cat creature type? It's a cat druid, so that seems fine. All right, and why did Conor McGregor like fighting in the spring? Because of Mayweather. That's right. When Phyrexian Brain Stomper enters the battlefield, you get 2/1/1 white human soldier tokens, and you get a 4/4 for 6 mana. Seems fine. Enters the battlefield. This fits the 6 mana criteria where you get something, you get 2/1/1s, and a 4/4. Cats, I think, is it mice that are coming back or cats that are coming back with the new Bloomborough set? Let's pass this card. Let's pass it. It's not that hard. Let's move it up. And then Mayera Eyes, reaching for a 1/2, green and 3. This one says Wizard Human Berserker. Reach. Can block creatures with flying, and Brody needs that because we're weak to flyers most of the time. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, Mayera Eyes is an art sticker. Instead, put up to that many +1/+1 counters on it. Instead, face up, remains on the battlefield, resolved. Get it out of here. All right. This one's no bueno. No bueno here this morning. Nice to have you with us. Good morning, folks and fans, amazing people from around the world who are tuning in who like the game as much as I do. If you like to crack open packs and shuffle up stacks of Magic the Gathering cards, you know it's not that hard to join me here on the morning show each and every day where we discuss the prices of Magic the Gathering cards. We take a look at spoilers, news in the world of the game, decks, and the meta. What's changing? What's changing in the world of Magic the Gathering? Well, we got some articles for you folks here this morning. Should be a good time. I'm going to take a look over at some. Got a good one. I got the good one. Let's get it up. Let's take a look. We got some spoil, right? Spoilers. Everybody checked out Bloomberg. What do we want to start with? Let's start with a recap of last week. Robert O'Brien, nice to see you. I missed you. I missed you at Trios, Robert. It's too bad. The star is no good. The stars never aligned. It's too bad. Would have loved to see you. So there's some interesting news in the game of Magic the Gathering. And when I was at Trios playing with Dustin Cullahall, Travis, I had a really good time. I was playing a breakout deck, which was really, really quite cool. So here's a version. I'm just going to post a little bit of news here for you folks this morning. So what's happening? Brody was playing the breakout deck in Pioneer in a Jun build, and it was quite good. A lot of people. Is that a different mic? It is the same mic, but I have tweaked the dial. How's the audio this morning? Is it working okay? I hope it is. I worked on the audio late last night to see if I could make it work properly. Work a little better. Let's take a look over the stock deck. All right, so let's take a look at this deck here. I was playing the breakout deck in Pioneer, but as you can see here, the breakout card is getting quite a lot of attention in other formats like Legacy. It seems good. So let's take a look here. Oh, we'll have to clear our palette here this morning. Let's move this over, shrink down a little bit. All right, here we got a legacy list. This is Esper. All right, this is a legacy list. Now, this deck list seems busted and strong. So if you want to know where my opinion is at with this breakout card, we have not seen the last of it. So we're playing breakout in legacy as well. Some folks are playing it. And what it's going to do for us is it's quite a good card. It's a cost of green and red. So now the Goblin Welder deck gets green in it. And this puts a creature onto the battlefield 6 deep from the top of your library. And it gives it haste until end of turn. So you can actually get the Welder into play and activate it as early as turn 2 without summoning Sickness. And then if you've got an artifact in the bin, you can activate it to do some good stuff, like recycle this Phyrexian Dragon engine, draw some cards. You've even got the Grindstone and the Painter's Servant combo in the deck. And then this interesting card here. This is the is this a trawler? How do we name this card? It's from the Warhammer set. This is the Chaos Defiler, right? This thing will defile your opponents to no end. So I enjoyed playing with this deck with this breakout card in Pioneer. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Simple fact that a lot of people didn't see what was coming, but now that I think we're going to see more brews with this breakout card, and it is definitely a buy. You want to buy that card? Pick it up. It's cheap right now. All right. What else we got? Let's take a look at some weekly winners. So this is an article from the stock desk. And if you folks haven't checked it out already, Brody's been streaming and beaming here with his premium membership from MTG Stocks. A word to our sponsor, Arjun, over at the stock desk. We've been using this premium stocks membership to track the prices of Magic cards and help us on our finance journey. So if you folks would like to get yourself a membership, you could use this affiliate link here and get yourself 10% off. You'll find that in the description of the channel. And we have a recap for you folks because it's Monday and we want to talk about some amazing cards in Magic the Gathering that are being the talk of the town. And this goes all the way to Legacy. Welcome back, Brody and all the winter orbs. All right, let's check this out. The Fallout set has been hitting the market and it shows. Most cards are moving and shaking. All right, let's just make this a little bigger here this morning. Get my screen up. Oh, yeah. All right. News article from the stock desk, courtesy of Arjun here. We're going to talk about the weekly winners from last week and the cards that were moving and grooving. And I'm going to give you my opinion on how these interact with some of the new cards and formats out there, especially Legacy. We're going to be talking Legacy here a little bit this morning because it's Monday. Follow set's been hitting the market. It shows that most cards are moving because of the cards from there. Oh, yeah, we have bobbleheads. And like every week, we like to recap and discuss the cards that are the talk of the town and what is moving in the market. The Mega Sloth. All right. Are you folks slothing? This card is going to warp formats. Now, this card right here, I'm telling you right now, this card's a buy. It's $10. You can find it for a little cheaper. If you can open it, Get this card because it's gonna do some things in Legacy. I'll tell you. Mega Sloth is an 8/8 for 12 mana. Now, we haven't seen a casting cost on this since like a Galta or something that costs 12 or 13 mana. But look at the text on this. It costs one less to play. It costs one less to cast for each counter among players and permanents. And it's an 8/8 with trample. And like Lumbering Mega Sloth enters the battlefield tapped. So you say you got to get like 10 counters. Well, what's a card that we know is going to give us some counters? The Thespian Stage. This card's going to go straight to Legacy. It's going to be quite interesting to see because there's already Legacy builds popping up using this card, the Mega Sloth, to enter the battlefield. If you got Dark Depths, we'll cover that here in a minute. So you get an 8/8 Trampler as another win condition in the Legacy Dark Depths deck. Who of you had a Sloth Mutant on their list of breakout cards from the Universes Beyond Fallout set? And the Mega Sloth has gone sky high this past week from just $1 to over $10. This card would have been a buy quite easily at $1 to $2. And let's start by talking about this creature for a little bit. For 10 mana and 2 green, you get an 8/8 Trampler that enters the battlefield tapped. But the Sloth cares about counters on permanents. Since those make it cheaper for each counter on a permanent or player, it gets one cheaper, meaning that you can cast it for as little as 2 green mana. So what are we playing this in? We're definitely going to be playing this in Gruul combo. We got the Broadside Bombardiers, Elvish Reclaimer. All right, Elvish Spirit Guide, Endurance, Lumbering Megasloth, and Moloch. But the land that I'm super excited about, and people were even talking about this at the at the Trios tournament, is this card here's Thespian Stage. Of course, this is a win condition in itself. A namesake card. Good morning, Dustin. The Sloth is making its way onto the stream this morning. For all you folks slothing in this morning, it's Monday, time to get up and kick the dog and talk Magic cards and get yourself some excitement. We're talking about the Lumbering Mega Sloth and the Legacy build that we're going to see making headlines. The Thespian Stage comes into the no, it's not the state. Where is it? Get back here. Get back here. Thespian Stage, we're looking for the Dark Depths. Yes, Dark Depths Thespian Stage combo. So the Dark Depths enters the battlefield with 10 Ice Flow counters on it, which is immediately enough to proc the Mega Sloth to only cost 2 green mana. So you get the Dark Depths on board, and then you can threaten to make a 20/20 by copying it with the Thespian Stage. If you can make 2 green mana, which we're going to be able to do pretty easily in Legacy thanks to the Spirit Guide and any of the green mana dorks, this one especially, this is basically free real estate. At this point, the Elvish Spirit Guide, you could discard it for a green. So you got to make 2 green mana, have a Thespian Stage on board, and then you get yourself a Mega Sloth, which is an 8/8 and is not bad considering the deck only had 20/20 as a win condition. It's making its way slowly into the stream. So now we need a way to quickly have a lot of counters on the battlefield. The Legacy format's got you covered. Play Dark Depths, and for your land drop, you get you now have 20 counters on the battlefield. Only problem is now the Dark Depths won't help you cast the Sloth Mutant, but unfortunately we can always play Yavimaya Cradle of Growth for a potential 8/8 on turn 2. Funny thing is that the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth had a similar function in a combo deck with the Dark Depths. Then you would be casting the Vampire Hexmage for 2, which you could sacrifice to remove all the counters from the dark decks, making it 20/20 indestructible flyers. So now the Vampire Hexmage, move over. Sloth is coming through. So the Sloth, you want my opinion on this one? This one's this one's a buy. At $10 if you're playing Legacy. I think you could probably find it for a little bit more. You can see that like it was cheaper. I don't know who's selling this for $10. Maybe on the open market, there's folks uh, that are getting $10 for it, but you might want to get the copy of this Lumbering Mega Sloth into your collection if you're interested in playing Legacy. A cheap way to get into Legacy with a good win condition, other than the 20/20. Danny Pink. Hey, how you doing, Danny? Danny boy. The deck tries to do either. It does. It'll do one or the other. I mean, you can win the game with a 20/20 in one hit, but the thing is the Dark Depths has no mana cost, so it's a little bit easier to remove in some instances. It is a token as well, right? So if you can blink it, it doesn't come back to the battlefield, which is kind of unfortunate. I've had a few different iterations where the 2020 token would have been just better if it was a piece of cardboard. So nevertheless, it makes your it makes your stuff Caracas proof. Yes, exactly. He's Caracas proof because he's not legendary either. Danny Pink, number 2. He's been moving on the stream here this morning. Danny from the Universes Beyond, Doctor Who said, has been climbing in the past week for some time. For a 3 mana and a blue, you get a 4/3 human soldier that gives creatures an extra ability. Whenever one or more counters are placed upon that creature for the first time each turn, you get to draw a card. Card advantage, as many as Magic players are aware, is the key to winning the game. And when you're able to draw more cards than your opponent, you get to play more spells and more options to deal with the current board state. Seems like Danny is becoming more popular because of the Wise Mothman. What's his Mothman card? Ooh, the 3/3 insect. Whenever Wise Mothman enters the battlefield or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. Oh, the mill. And I'm pleased to say I traded my mesmeric orbs. My phone is freaking out. I miss Brody. So nice. I had a great joke. What did where are we here? Let's read this card. I want to thank Bill Master for some good funny this morning. What did Brody A say to Brody B? I'd like to see Brody. All right, Danny Pink's got Mentor. It's a 4/3, but I got a I got a card coming up here this morning on the show that I'm a little bit more excited about even than Danny Pink. This one says a 4/3. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 counter on it for targeting creature with a lesser power. And then creatures you control have whenever one or more creatures are put whenever one or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. Danny Pink, drawing cards. And of course, we know that drawing cards is a great way to get ahead and win the game in Magic. So let's just take a look here. See what we got to say. Right, 2 weeks off was rough. You mod him. He's gone rogue. All right. What else we got? Wave goodbye. You say goodbye, but I say hello. Hello, hello. Good morning, world. Nice to have you with us. The sorcery card. It seems like a popular card. Are we picking this up? I don't know much about it, so let's read it together. You got 2 blue and 2 for a sorcery that says return each creature with a +1/+1 counter on it to its owner's hand. All right, and then what's this guy? Zelix, the Sanity Flare. Hive Mind, whenever a player mills one or more creature cards, you create a 1/1 black horror creature token and play 1 and tap it. Target player mills 3 cards. This one also comes complete with a background. Danny Pink might be the only Doctor Who cares card that I want. And this one here, all right, got a shout out to Dustin Cullahall. Because this card was one that we picked on Brody's watch list, the cards to watch. And I'm going to get to a news article here this morning regarding dice rolling because this was Dustin Cullahall's pick of the week when we were creating that list. And that list, I could share it with you folks. It's totally shareable. But the Comet the Stellar Pup, you couldn't have picked a better card. This card's up 137% because of dice rolling. And let's take a look here. This guy rolls dice. And it's from Infinity and has actually been showing up in Legacy since it was printed. It's a result. It's always random mechanic, but none of the outcomes are particularly bad. Being able to make 2 blockers and getting to 7 loyalty will make this pup Planeswalker hard to kill. Returning a cheap permanent to your hand, especially in the format where there's a lot of fetch lands, can be a good way to generate card advantage, and the damage ability can kill some problematic creatures or deal with the last bits of damage needed to finish off your opponent. And finally, being able to get 2 more chances to hit the above effects can really drive it home, but there's always a chance you won't hit the abilities you need at that particular moment, which can be quite frustrating. Well, as we said a couple of weeks ago, I told you to put this guy on the watch list. This card's a buy for sure. At least it was a couple of weeks ago. We've got more bobblehead discussion here. All right, all 7 of the special bobbleheads have been moving up this week. And the first sight, they're just another mana rock, but they can all do something special. All of them could be bought for about $1 now that they'll hit a little bit more. The strength version seems to have gone up the most, about 719%, while charisma only went up 161%. To see how well these bobbleheads are going to perform over the long run. Are these a buy? Are these a sell? I think for $1 or two, you can probably pick them up, buck or two. I think we buy the bobbleheads if you want to speculate on some magic cards for about $1 or two. There's a few too many to get into detail, but these mana rocks all have an activated ability that gets more powerful depending on the amount of different bobbleheads you control. This means that you most likely want to play multiple bobbleheads to get a better effect. And in the next article, we're going to discuss about dice rolling and how that's been affecting the game in Magic the Gathering, especially Comet, the Stellar Pup card that Justin picked, put it on the watch list. It's up 137%. So if you had bought that one, you'd be doing not too bad.
Buy low, sell high, that's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy.
Cheap pickups? What do we got here? Darkness, 1 black. This was a card from Legends, and I actually like the Legends version a little bit better. This card's been moving up, and if you take a look at the original Legends printing, it's quite good. It's like the original Black Fog. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn. I would say if you want to pick up a more OG version of this card, pick up the card from Legends. Comet just became available on Mitgo. Morning, Anger. Darkness has been identified as a penny stock. You want to buy that one. And the Scourging Deathclaw Tarmogoyf showcase stabling. Tarmogoyf's never been cheaper, right? I stayed away and I wrote a post on the Patreon just a little bit ago talking about reprint targets. And if you want to get some fun into your collection, you got to be able to sit out and wait. Some of these cards, like Shoulder of the Apocalypse and some of the Ancient Dragons, eventually are going to see a reprint. Only give it time. It reminds me of this card here, Tarmogoyf, when it was printed in Future Sight and Jund, was running amok in Modern. Everybody wanted to play Tarmogoyf, but it was really expensive to get a play set. I mean, it was up to 100 and something dollars, but Brody sat back and said, no, eventually it'll get reprinted. I'll try and open it. I'm glad I did because Tarmogoyfs have really fallen from grace and they're only a couple of bucks. Now, with the breakout card making splashes and making some interesting deck choices in Legacy and other formats, it's hard to believe that the Tarmogoyf will ever see a return to play, but it's possible, and now maybe is the time to pick one up. What do we got here? Karlov of the Ghost Council. 2/2. This one's also been identified as a penny stock. You want to pick this one up? Whenever you gain life, put 2+1/+1 counters on Karlov the Ghost counter. Remove 6/1/1 counters from Karlov the Ghost counter to exile target creature. Got this removal ability. All right. Have a little sip of coffee. Arjun, the chef over at the Stock Desk, bringing us another news article to share with you folks today. I want to thank you folks for tuning in. A fellow who's been quite generous with the promoting and sponsoring and the interactions here on the channel when we're talking Magic the Gathering card prices. Morning, folks and fans, those who love to shuffle up hands of Magic the Gathering cards. Not that hard to join me on the morning show when we discuss what cards are moving and shaking and why they are moving and shaking so much. Let's take a look here. I got an article here for you folks about dice rolling. Let's get it up and discuss it here this morning. Or do we want to go to movers and shakers? Let's do one little article. One teensy-weensy article here this morning, Brody. Just a sliver more, if you will. Morning, Murray Cooper. Nice to have you with us. Getting set to make your day happen. It's Monday, March 25th. I got the month right. You could tell I was pittering out last week ago. I posted February in one of the dailies. People ask me, they say, why are you posting February? You're a month behind, Brody. All right. Well, this had an interesting article here this morning for you folks. It's all about dice rolling. See if I can get it to load here. Things are a little bit slow here this morning. Let's try and take a look. Bloomberg card spoilers. That's my kind of article, baby. Hot dice, right? All right. Hot dice. All right. There we go. This is what we like to see. Dice rolling. MTG cards see major price spike. All right. This one's for you, Hot Dice. If you're hot and you're into dice and you like this Comet the Stellar Pup, one of Dustin's picks from last month, this is another reason why we're seeing dice rolling cards move up in price, and the reason why the bobbleheads could actually be worth something in and down the road. Fallout has made dice rolling a lot more exciting, and the mechanics always a fringe one since Dungeons and Dragons started crossing over into the world of Magic the Gathering. With that said, dice rolling was generally something to be enjoyed and limited and hasn't received a lot of support in constructed formats. There have been some powerful dice rolling cards in the game, thanks to in part by the decision to make Infinity partially black bordered. Comet the Stellar Pup is cute and powerful planeswalker that takes dice rolling to an extreme. Some extreme dice rolling for you here this morning. What exactly is the 30th anniversary foil Tarmogoyf? Dice rolling is returned in Fallout set, but it's not as a major mechanic. Instead, a few choice cards host the mechanic as a flavorful homage to what they represent in the crossover IP. And the catch is that these cards are either good or exciting, which has a lot of players wanting to try them out in Commander. Here's a reason why MTG dice rolling cards are spiking all over the place. Mr. House. Whenever you roll a 4 or higher, create a 3/3 colorless robot creature token. If you roll a 6 or higher and instead create that token and a treasure token. So Mr. House, the president and CEO, make dice rolling great again. Or and tap it, roll a 6-sided dice plus an additional 6-sided dice for each mana from treasures you spent to activate this ability. Holy smokes. Mr. House, the president and CEO, is a very powerful commander card. When you abuse the dice rolling mechanic, this card is a static ability that applies to all dice you roll. And should you roll a 4 or higher, you get a golem and you get a perfect 6 or higher, grab a treasure token as well. Apparently, there is a dice rolling mechanic from Infinity that's legal in EDH. 2007 gold stamp. All right, while rolling a 6 can be certainly feel lucky, Magic players are just limited to rolling D6s. A lot of Dungeons and Dragons support and lets you roll D20s, and rolling a 6 on these dice are relatively trivial. Mr. House is also interested in utilizing a treasure sub thing with this personal activated ability that gets a lot better if you manage to play with treasure in full, while Mr. House finally gives players a powerful commander to utilize the dice rolling mechanic with. He is not the only reason why dice rolling cards are on the rise. Dice rolling fanatics who also received a win condition that embodies the mechanic perfectly. Are you feeling lucky? This one's for you, Hot Dice. We're talking dice, and it's nice to talk dice in the stream here this morning. This is the Luck bobblehead. This is the one, I think there's an iteration of like 40 something bobbleheads. 40 something dice to give you the best chance of rolling exactly 7 times you win the game. The Luck bobblehead takes gambling and dice rolling to the next level. Card offers an alternate win condition, but if that win condition is not at all a viable one, only 7 bobblehead cards are currently in existence in the Magic the Gathering world, and even having all of those out in play gives you an almost impossible chance of winning the game with Luck bobblehead. Fortunately, the activate ability does not state that the bobbleheads need different names. You can copy your bobbleheads. A real strategy for achieving this win is to copy the bobblehead, and then even then, the optimal number of bobbleheads needed to win the game for this effect is 49, and at that point, you're likely to win the game from all the other dice rolling payoffs that you have in your deck. The Luck bobblehead is exciting, though, which has a lot of Commander players turning their heads towards dice rolling. Even if you're not trying to win the game with the Luck bobblehead, it's very good mana rock for the Mr. House Commander deck. Right? Luck, luck, luck. It's a clown card. Comment the cards going up is according to dice rolling. This is a card that we picked out thanks to Dustin Cullahall a couple of weeks ago. This Comet the Stellar Pup from the Infinity set is the main price spike, tipping the finance alerts across the internet. The pup is already a legacy viable threat and can go absolutely nuts alongside Mr. House. Should you manage to roll a 6, the Comet will just keep rolling and rolling, which can keep triggering Mr. House alongside some cards that fix your dice rolling result, like a Barbarian Class. Comet has even higher chance of just going absolutely nuts. Comet is spiked from about $9.50 to as high as $30. The card's selling price is somewhat unstable, but $30 seems to be somewhat of a consistent high. We get the Vexing Puzzle Box. Started spiking a few weeks ago. Yet another card that synergizes quite well with dice rolling. You can trigger Mr. House easily enough when your entire deck is focused around dice rolling as possible. Yet multiple searches from the puzzle box, continually rolling d20s, makes triggering Mr. House easy. Mr. House essentially turns Vexing Puzzle Box into a 3-mana card that can tap and add mana, a treasure, and a 3/3 golem. What a steal! At worst, the puzzle box is a mana rock with extra steps, and sure, it's a little expensive for that, but it'll be doing much more than that almost all the time. In terms of price, the puzzle box is spiking heavily in February, jumping from $2.50 to $13. Maybe we want to sell these, perhaps. The deck of many things is yet another alternate win condition focused on dice rolling, and the luck bobblehead trying to win this card is likely a fool's errand. But getting some value out of it alongside Mr. House is trivial. Even with Mr. House, the deck of many things is an okay card, and 3 modes of this card are perfectly acceptable in a wide range of commander decks. What's that sound? Ah. You know what time it is. All right, it's time to move. It's time to move. It's time to shake in your seats with me. It's Monday. Little sip of coffee here this morning. Let's take a look at our movers and shakers here this morning. I've got something I want to share with you folks. An interesting card. Ooh la la. All right, so your movers and your shakers here this week on Monday. We're talking about what cards are moving. It's Monday, Modern Monday. I know it's Modern Monday, but I just can't wait. I just can't wait, okay? I gotta cover this card. This is something that I looked at yesterday, and this is incredibly cool, if you ask me. So let's just take a look at some of the cards that are moving. We got this blue bot deck here. I want to take a look. Phyrexian Dreadnought. This card's going to be getting better with time. It's only going to get better. This is a reserve list card. Why are we looking at this card? Because it's up so much here this morning. The Dreadnought is a reserve list card. This card's up to $147. Hey, good morning, Savannah Lion. Nice to see you. There's a year of the lion, folks. Raw. Nice to have you with us here this morning. Goedemorgen vanuit het Netherlands. Anybody who's tuning in from around the world, everybody's welcome here. So please enjoy the stream with me here this morning. I'm looking at this card, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Like I said before, it's $147. This card has taken a spike in price. And let's look at the chart on this thing. It's almost double in price in the last little while. And if you can pick it up for cheaper, this card's a 5. It's one mana for a 12/12. One single mana. And this thing had many ways to try and abuse it. Well, not many ways. I guess you had Stifle. This was the card that you would use with Stifle, because when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless you sacrifice any number of creatures with total power 12 or greater. Rare. So you have to sacrifice 12 power in order for this thing to stick around. If you can end the turn using Obeka, or there's even a namesake card called Stifle, and a deck running this called Stifle Knot. But here's the latest tech that is moving this card up in price. All right, check this out. This is the Curry, the blue bot. Mono blue commander deck now getting to run the getting to run the big 12-12, right? The dreadnought. So this Curry of Emergent Intelligence, this is such a cool build. I had to share it with you folks. And if you want to know why this card is spiking, this is why. This card here, Curry, this card's a buy from the new set. I'm telling you right now, if I want to pick this card up, it's 50 cents. But let's look at the text on it and the interaction that we get here. What the hell is a 12-12 for one? Right? It's good times. That's what it is. So before this Curry card come out, playing the 12-12 for one mana where you sacrifice 12 permanents, you had to stifle that effect and get it to stop before it goes off. But look at this card, Curry Emergent Intelligence, a 1/3. Mono blue commander deck. When Curry Emergent Intelligence deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its base power. This is 2 mana. So you get 1 blue and 1 for a 1/3. And then it's got this very interesting activated ability on it, which works with the Dreadnought. So for 1 blue and 1, you exile another non-token artifact creature you control. Curry becomes a copy of the exiled creature, except it has, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its base power. So now Stifle, which cost you 1 mana, now you can activate Curry while the Phyrexian Dreadnought enter the battlefield. Ability is on the stack. Exile the Dreadnought. Then all of a sudden, Curry becomes a 12-12 with Trample that when it hits your opponent, you get to draw cards equal to its base power. You get to draw 12 cards. So this is why the Dreadnought is spiking, because of Curry, the Emergence Intelligence. Like I said, this card's a buy, if you ask me. Dreadnought. So what else are we playing with this? It's quite interesting. This is you get the Triska Decaphile. You get no maximum hand size at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. It shouldn't be too hard to get there if you're drawing 12 with Curry as a 12-12. Emery, Lurker of the Lock, Phantasmal Image. You've also got the Foundry Inspector to make your artifacts cost a little cheaper. Some interesting cards that I never really looked at. And down here, I wanted to look at this Triplicate Titan because the Triplicate, I mean, you can make a copy of the Triplicate Titan. When Titan dies, you create a 3/3 Golem, a 3/3 flying artifact creature with Vigilance, and a 3/3 token with Trample. Mossword Bridge. Is that in here? Is the Mossword Bridge in here? That's got to be an artifact. Oh, the Cyberdrive Awakener. This Ancient Stone Idol. This is another card that I thought was quite interesting. 20 cents. I'm going to say all these under sub $1 cards on this list worth picking up for just a couple of cents. Flash costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. It's got Trample. And when Ancient Stone Idol dies, you get a 6/12 colorless construct token with Trample. So we're playing Blightsteel Colossus, a bunch of big, dumb artifacts. And of course, the Phyrexian Dreadnought is the copy target for our commander in this build. So I thought it was very interesting to see an interaction with a legacy card or a reserve list card that's really moving. And the Phyrexian Dreadnought was a card that was about 60, $70 just a couple of months ago. It's double in price and it's going to keep moving up. I think we'll probably see a little bit of a downtick in price, but I would keep your eye on that one. All right, Modern Monday. Elish Norn. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. Is this the new one? No, this is the Modern Masters version. Let's take a look at this chart on this one here. Let's scroll back the chart. It's been, is this one a buy? I think if you want it, this is now the time to get it. This is a buy. It's been heading down in price for some times, ticking up. Highest got about 30, $35, maybe 40 in and around the Phyrexia All Will Be One release. I think people expected a little bit more from this from this one. Is there a copy spell with Storm? I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a copy spell with Storm. Indomitable Creativity's playing it. Cenobite's kind of brutal. It's also, again, it's 7 mana. I mean, it's 7 mana. You get 4/7. And other creatures you control get +2/+2, and creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. This could be just a win condition. in itself. Attracts of the Praetor's Voice. Reanimate target. This seems like a pretty decent reanimate target. In some cases, now that white is seeing more reanimate with the advent of Ephemerate being run in blink decks, especially in reanimate decks, playing Goryo's Vengeance. What do we got here? Another Shadowmoor. Shadowmoor. These are cards that I like. I like the Shadowmoor set simply because the foil cards, if you want to find some good value, go down the list of the Shadowmoor foils, especially in the uncommon slot, as well as the Lorwyn foils in the uncommon slot. There's some good value to be had from some of these old cards. And a card like this is a good example of it. Plague of Vermin. Rats. All right, you Verminous card. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of life. Repeat this process until nobody wants to pay any life. Each player creates a 1/1 black rat creature token for each one life they paid this way. Well, do rats count as mice? It's hard to know if the rats are counting as mice. Let's just jump over here into the Bloomberg card spoilers. All right. So this is a mouse. I don't think this quite qualifies, but here's Mabel Hair of Cragflame. This is a spoiler from the Bloomborough set, and I think mice are getting a little bit more support. It could be possible this is a reason why this card is moving up. I would pick this up. Rats are their own type. I know, but if you want to like mix rats with mice, I don't think they mix well, perhaps. Mabel Hair of the Cragflame gives the other mice you control +1/+1, so it's just the flavor that I think. Unless we can find a card interaction where rats are getting some decent ratatouille, some raticular support. These are some of the spoilers that are coming out. We're getting this mice tribal support. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. Maybe one has nothing to do with the other. What decks are running the Plague Vermin? Maronar. Okay. That's the rat deck. Ayaria, the First of Lochwain. That deck's playing it. Kenrith, the Returned King. This is like the king that just keeps coming back again and again. It's like the I don't want to say it, but it's like the turd that keeps popping back up again. No matter how many times you flush it, Kenrith, the Returned King, keeps returning and returning again and again. We got Lord Skitter, the Sewer King, a few other rat builds that'll be running this. So, I mean, I guess keep an eye out for the Plague of Vermin. I mean, how high is this card going to go? Hard to say. I think even in the foil version, this card is not seen too high of a price. $30. I wouldn't speculate on this card unless you're really interested in picking up a tribal deck. So maybe that one's a sell that one. I'd be selling the Plague Vermin for $35. I think that's probably a decent play. Shizo. Shizo, Death Storehouse. Target creature gains fear until end of turn. Can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. The Fear Land from Champions of Kamigawa. What's the foil version of this one? $83. Holy moly, this thing gets expensive. That's where you've been getting new sound effects. All right, this one here, $83. I think for me, we're getting rid of this one. I mean, $83 if I can get $83 for this land, maybe. Where are we at here? $150. Is it gonna see a higher price? $200. This thing's been ticking down in price. Fear as a mechanic, as a deck building possibility, maybe in Commander. I think this is probably going to go with the rat cards, really, because you want to give your rats fear. Yuko, the Tiger Shadow, Giada, the Binder of Wills, Crick, Sunny Youngmoth, Goryo's Vengeance, Massacre Girl. I mean, Lathril Blade of Elves playing it, giving all your creatures fear, making them unblockable. Champions of Kamigawa foil, $85. And then we got Kozlik, the Butcher of Truth. Oh, Kozlik? Buy. That's a buy. I mean, some of these Eldrazi, they used to be worth so much more than what they are right now. This one's $40. This one's the 12/12 10 mana Kozlik. With Annihilator 4, it draws you 4. When you cast it, you get a shuffle if it goes to your graveyard. This sucker has been a lot higher. Look at this. This is when Kozlik was popular with the girls. Now, you see Kozlik just kind of bombing down. He's like all the way down at the bottom of the price chart. It was $45. Maybe pick up a copy of Kozlik if you haven't yet. He's been higher. It's been more expensive. What are we? Domain Zoo deck? Yeah, the domain deck is going to be playing it. That's an archetype we're going to see for a while. Eldrazi Temple. Yes, Eldrazi Temple. Let's take a look at you want to see Eldrazi Temple? I want to see Eldrazi Temple. This another identify. So if you ever want to doubt Dustin Tullahal's card picking abilities, he's the one who told me about Eldrazi Temple. And he also picked the Comet Stellar Pup. Interesting to see where this Eldrazi Temple is going to go. Myself, this is a hot pick. It taps for 2 mana to cast colorless Eldrazi spells. I think if we ever see a resurgent in Eldrazi, like look at this sucker. This thing has been so much better. It's been so much higher, but now it's like taking this fall from grace, the Eldrazi Temple, down to around $4 or $5. What's the foil version of this card worth? Not a whole hell of a lot. I think I picked up a few copies. The Rise of Eldrazi foil. Ooh, $30. $30. I think I picked it up for 15 a little while ago. There's still time on this card. This is definitely a buy. If you guys ever wanted to play Eldrazi, maybe get the non-foil versions. This is another way to get some fast Eldrazi into play quite quickly. What else we got here? We got the Eldrazi Temple. Taking 2 to the Temple here this morning. We got Heat Shimmer. Like I said, some Lorwyn cards. Here's another Lorwyn card. This card in foil. All the Lorwyn cards in foil in the uncommon spot. And even some of the cheaper rares. How did I miss this card? Heat Shimmer. This card. Create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it has haste, and at the beginning of the end step, exile this permanent. Is there a copy spell with Storm? I wish this one had Storm. Heat Shimmer? This one's 3 mana for sorcery? What are we copying with this? Zada, the Hedron Grinder, Itali, the Primal Conqueror, Go to the Bandit Lord, Inalia, the Archmage Ritualist, and Obeka, the Brute Chronologist. I guess we're copying stuff. With Obeka, it's not fast enough for me. I'd like something in more instant speed, perhaps. Maybe I'm missing something. Lorwyn Foil? Holy smokes. Look at this one. $105 for this beauty right here. Look at the price spike on this one. It even seen a tick up showing $3,000. This is no way this is real. This is some odd. This is very odd data to see on a card like this. This one's showing a price increase all the way up to $3,000 and then coming back down. I'd say if you can sell it for that price, go ahead. But the Heat Shimmer is a copy card that from the Lorwyn block, another undervalued rare from the Lorwyn block, seeing a little bit of love finally here. When I was thinking you could copy the bobbleheads with a Storm card. Oh, yeah, I guess so. That's what you were thinking. I like it. Good to see you blinking and thinking here this morning on the stream. What else we got here? Heat Shimmer, Misty Rainforest, a fetch land, of course. Cloudstone Curio, some other Eldrazi conscription. Curio, a curious magic card. I can have a little sip of coffee here with you folks. Delicious. What's Curio doing this morning? I'm curious to see what this card's doing. 4 mana, 3 mana. Oh, and why can't flowers ride bikes? Because they lost their petals. This Cloudstone Curio, it's an interesting card. It'll cost you 3 mana and $17.94 to get it into your collection. Cousin Jimmy, Splendor sounds like Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage. What am I missing here? That's where you've been getting new sound effects. Sounds like Phyrexian Dreadnought from Mirage. I like it. Good morning, cousin Jimmy. Nice to have you here. All right, the Cloudstone Curio. Here's an interesting commander card. Whenever a non-artifact permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you may return another permanent you control that shares a permanent type with it to its owner's hand. So you can blink your opponent's stuff. I guess with the Kinnan deck. Kinnan, Bonder, Prodigy, I think this is where we want to be. Oh, he asked why it was a 12/12 for one. Yes. We are talking about the Dreadnought. This is not a Dreadnought. All right, Cloudstone Curio. This thing I think goes infinite with the Kinnan deck. If I don't see Kinnan down here, shame on me, and I don't. Okay, so Animar Soul Elementals, Atali the Primal Conqueror, Chulane or Cullen, Teller of Tales, and Magna the Brazen Outlaw. Norwin the Wary also playing it. This card actually was more expensive. Let's scroll the chart back and have a look here. This card was much more expensive. I think this card. This is time to pick up this card if you haven't done so already. We always wanted it. It's never been lower. Actually, and even though it's showing up in the movers and the shakers list today, this thing's bottoming down, and it's actually also a reprint target. I just want to take a look to see if it got hit in the Kaladesh inventions, and it did. Right, this is the $116 version. This is the creme de la creme. This one's the most expensive one, and I think that all other versions of it are never going to outpace this one here. So if you want to pick this one up, now is the time to do it. Probably a good time to pick it up. Maybe not the Kaladesh Invention version, but for a couple of bucks, you can pick it up in the City of Guilds set from Ravnica. $17 seems like a buy. Eldrazi Conscription. Oh boy, this is interesting. So now, just speaking of when we're talking about Phyrexian Dreadnought here, right? Just go back to talking about Phyrexian Dreadnought just for a minute. 1 mana 12/12. So the Dreadnought card, the reason I think this is quite interesting with this Curry Emergence of Intelligence. So we play the Curry. When the Dreadnought comes into play, we can activate Curry's 2 mana ability and exile a non-token artifact creature you control, and Curry becomes a copy of the exiled creature that has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its power. So Curry becomes a 12/12 with trample. Then we want to find ways to beef him up. Is this playing Eldrazi Conscription? You'd think it would. But you've also got this other card called Nerd Rage that I was looking at. I thought it was kind of funny because it's from a newer set, and it's an enchantment card that enters the battlefield and draws 2 cards. And then whenever the enchanted creature has you have no max hand size, so this Nerd Rage card, this card's a good card. I would pick this up if you haven't already. 35 cents doesn't seem like a whole lot to 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 pick this card up while it's still cheap. Maybe the foil version is something that you want to get. But then enchanted creature has +10/+10 if you have 10 or more cards in your hand. So that just makes, like, if you're drawing an obscene amount of cards off of Curry, you get no maximum hand size, and then you've got like Curry that's a 12/12 off the Dreadnought. If you got 10 or more cards in hand, then he's like a 22/22. And if he swings, you draw 22 cards. Like, the card drawing on this mono blue deck is insane. It's a bunch of insanity sauce. There's no doubt about it. So I would think that, like, the Eldrazi Conscription might not be too bad. Enchanted creature gets +10/+10. It has Trample and Annihilator too. This would be something that I would think about putting in the Curie deck because, like, who doesn't want to give Curie +10/+10 or give your Dreadnought Curie +10/+10? And so this with the Nerd Rage, perhaps it's going to get even better. You get Flying and Annihilator too. I mean, if you can't hit the 13 card requirement in the Triskaidekaphile win condition, I mean, this can just make it so big. And that's commander damage, by the way. So you get a commander that's like a 32/32 or 23/23 with a Nerd Rage. Of course, I think this card, Eldrazi Conscription, $12. This is a buy. Pick this card up. It could be a lot of fun. Has it been a lot? Has it been cheaper? Let's take a look. Strictly chart back. Ah, yes, it's been cheaper. It's been cheaper and it's been more expensive. There's no question about it. It's trending down in price, but it's finally seen to see some love here this morning. And then what else do we got? We got Phyrexian Obliterator. Here's a card that was so expensive, and now it's probably come down in price a lot. This was a card that you wanted to fight your opponent's creatures with. Ooh, this one you want to pick up. I definitely want to get this into the collection if you haven't. It got a reprint. It's been arguable to see which art is actually the better art. Myself, I like the original art better. I don't like the new art on the Phyrexian Obliterator. This is this art is by Todd Lockwood. And then let's take a look at the new art on it. I'm not really a fan, but meh. What do we got here? Yeah, this one here. From Phyrexia, All Will Be One. Very similar looking creature, but I mean, I do like the original art better. Call me sentimental, but this is the version for me. When I first saw this card, I was like, holy moly, Obliterator. This is a hell of a card. It's a 5/5. It's 4 mana, so it's got pretty great devotion, especially for black. I wonder why this is moving and shaking here this morning. Whatever source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. The new art doesn't look as Phyrexian. I agree. I think it looks less Phyrexian than the old art. The old art looked very Phyrexian. This was pseudo Phyrexian. All right, Captain Nagathrod, Crick, son of Yawgmoth. What's with these names? Like, are people going to just start naming their kids double consonants with an apostrophe? Nagathrod and Crick. The names are getting more and more funny. Phyrexian Obliterator is hilarious with lure. Ah, yes. There's plenty of ways to get this thing to proc and get your opponents to deal damage with. The fight mechanic is also quite good. Anything that fights. What's the other card that it was looking at? Pick your poison. Let me just see. Here's a card that I find. This card here, if you haven't picked it up already, this one here, common card. Buy. Easily buy a card. Buy this card. Sack an apartment, sack an artifact, sack an enchantment. No, it's not pick your poison. It's in the deck list. Help me out here, Dustin. Deals damage. I'm just drawing a blank here this morning. It's also 1 green. I'll have to look it up. But there's plenty of fight cards out there that can make the Obliterator fight your opponent's stuff. And Challenges of the Void, $60. All right. Chalice of the Void. Do we want to be buying the Chalice of the Void? Perhaps. All right. And what are some cards that we were... Here's a card, Mesmeric Orb. So here's a card. Disclaimer. I vendored these. This card here, been trending up in price. If you've got this in your collection, if you ever opened any double masters, this is a card that definitely is spiking in price. And if you want to get like $20 in store credit, this might be a good time to do it. It's hit a $35 price high. I don't think it's going to last this long. So this one looks like a sell, if you ask me. And those are your movers and the shakers here this morning. Well, it's been a good one. It's nice to be back. It's good to warm up on Monday. I hope you folks enjoyed the stream. I'm going to be heading on off to make my day complete. I got a busy week ahead, and I hope you guys enjoy. For those of you tuning in here on the channel, I want to wish you all a happy Monday, March the 25th. Good morning, sunshine. And what month always asks questions and permission? May. All right. The best time to buy a trampoline is springtime. I always tell them the weather's getting warmer because they're spring in people's steps. All right. everybody. We got to roll. The cops are at the door. It sounds like the Pinkertons are getting ready to shut us down here this morning. Thanks again for watching the Amazing Fans of Magic the Gathering. Let's go on to Ron Burgundy, taking us out of here with a little bit of jazz flute. You guys have yourself a good day. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow. The morning Magic the Gathering stock show. A little bit of stocks and talks in your day. The coffee's empty. So that's how we know the stream is done. Time to go. The coffee's empty.